Imagine a future where all you needed to do to accomplish a tedious task was to push a button. Imagine a future where you can live 20 years longer with a 5-minute, $20 procedure. Imagine a future where you can completely change the weather around you within a few hours. That's a pretty neat future, isn't it? I'm going to take you to this future in roughly 10 minutes. In the meantime, let's go back in time. When I was in middle school, I wanted to be an architect. My family was shopping for our first house, and I loved touring the various homes to see how architecture could improve our lives. I thought that because my mom wanted a very clean house, that we should have a plastic bathroom. Yes, a plastic bathroom, because all you would need to do to clean it would be to squeegee the room clean, and because a squeegee on plastic would actually squeak, then the room would always be squeaky clean. While I didn't end up becoming an architect, I have always been solutions-focused rather than problems-focused. When we attempt to solve a problem, we tend to think narrowly on the problem. We're focusing on resolving a situation, and sometimes we miss the bigger picture. And we react to a negative situation. And because we're doing that, sometimes our answers tend to be limited, temporary, and ultimately not sustainable. But if we change our frame of thought from solving problems to building solutions, then we're no longer focused on remediation. We have a far more aspirational outlook. We can dream about grander solutions. We're positive, we're optimistic, because when we build, the possibilities are endless. According to Google, we search for the term problems 1.5 times more than we search for the term solutions. I think it's time to change that. According to organizational behavior researcher Dr. Russell Johnson, framing things in terms of solutions lessens the focus on a problem, and it evokes positive emotions rather than the negative ones that tend to cause mental fatigue. So let's be optimists. Let's talk about building solutions. Eventually, I went to high school, and in high school, I thought that building solutions for better health was more my speed than installing squeaky clean bathrooms. And so I wanted to join the CDC and become an EIS officer. These are the people who go out, travel the world, and stamp out infectious diseases wherever they find them, such as the Ebola. I was going to make my stand in public health. In the 1700s, your average life expectancy was less than 50, and now it is over 70. And why? It's because of public health. There are two main reasons for this. The first is clean water, and the second is vaccines. The smallpox vaccine was the first vaccine ever invented. Smallpox is an extremely deadly virus. It's so deadly, in fact, that over 50% of Native Americans died from smallpox when the European settlers brought it with them to the Americas. It was, in fact, biological warfare that allowed the European settlers into the Americas. Powerful ancient civilizations, like the Incans, fell when smallpox sailed ashore. In 1796, Dr. Edward Jenner noticed that milkmaids did not die from smallpox. Instead, they got a disease called cowpox. Cowpox is a cousin of the smallpox virus, and in humans, it causes a mild cold and a slight skin rash. But it actually immunized you against getting smallpox altogether. And Dr. Jenner was the first to recognize this phenomenon, and since then, all other vaccines have been based off of this idea. 1977 was the last case of smallpox in this world. Last case. We don't have smallpox anymore. And in fact, polio is the next disease to completely disappear. It may happen as early as next year. That's the power of vaccines. Vaccines are a solution that we have built as a society. Contrast that with medications. Medications are temporary, and they're limited to the individual. They stop working when you stop going to the pharmacy every month. Vaccines are permanent, and they help the community as a whole. Sometimes solving a problem isn't the best solution. In my quest to save the world, I ended up becoming a family doctor. 5 years into being a doctor, I was tired. What do you do when you're tired? Starbucks, Red Bull, 5-hour energy? Coffee is probably one of the prime examples for a quick fix when we are fatigued. But coffee was not the answer for me. Americans drink coffee on a daily basis. We drink up to 3 cups of coffee a day. 83% of us do this on a daily basis. So you're not alone. But here's the situation. As a family doctor, I would be getting phone calls late at night from the emergency room or from patients, and then it would be hard for me to get back to sleep. And so my husband suggested that maybe I should listen to some relaxing music. And I thought that was a great idea, but headphones are bulky, and I couldn't sleep on my side. And I tried earbuds, but they just hurt my ears. And so we decided to make our own. One night, we sat down at the kitchen table after work and started making some prototypes. After a few iterations, we came up with the concept of putting very thin speakers inside of a soft, stretchy headband. And it worked. It worked for me. And so I thought, well, maybe we could just make a few more for my patients who are taking sleeping pills. Things kind of snowballed from there. And now 8 years later, nearly 500,000 people are benefiting from the solution that we built. You see, when we built the solution for me, we didn't just fix my problems. It was a solution that we could share with so many other people in this world. And that's exactly what we've done. In case any of my employees are in the audience and they're wondering about the coffee, I'm not really anti-coffee. It's okay, we can keep the coffee pot. After all, we are a startup. And as a startup, sometimes you need a little caffeine. So speaking of startups, according to the Kauffman Foundation, 100% of net new jobs are created by businesses in their first 5 years. 100%. Think about that for a moment. That means if there are no new businesses, there are no new jobs, and a region can't grow. In 2014, people from all over the US rated their happiness, and Erie came in at number 3 for unhappiness. So I think we can all find reasons why we may be unhappy. And local leaders complain about problems like brain drain, which is where young, smart people get their education here, but then leave to work elsewhere. And that's certainly a problem. That's focusing on the negative, though. I believe we can build our way out of this situation. And I think local leaders are starting to recognize that. They're starting to build a spirit of entrepreneurship here. And that's what this talk is all about. That's why we're here. Here, we're not just talking about fixing problems in the city. We're talking about optimism. We're talking about being proactive, and looking to the future. We're talking about building solutions. We need people who are inspired enough to create something new and brave enough to share it with others. We need people who are willing to join the small, hardworking teams to get new ideas off the ground. We need people to build the long-term solution of starting new businesses here in Erie and throughout the nation, because that's how we grow. Throughout my life, I've always looked beyond problems rather than at them. I ignore problems, and I just look for solutions. In fact, if you don't even use the word problems in your mind, then nothing's ever a problem. I believe that we all have it within us to build solutions in our own lives. I promised I'd take you to the future 10 minutes ago. Are we there yet? The future where, to complete a tedious task, all you needed to do was to push a button. The future where you could live 20 years longer with a 5-minute, $20 procedure called a vaccination. The future where you can completely change the weather around you within a few hours. We're already living in this future. Somebody before us believed in a future that was better, and we can too. Because when we build enduring solutions, then all boats are indeed lifted. Thank you.